ever since the game had finished yesterday. And what a performance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium it was last night, in a result that has been coming. It has been coming. We have threatened to do this a couple of times, and it felt like last night, for everything that we've gotten wrong in the West Ham game, in the Villa game, it just all came together last night in the Newcastle game. And we were it's actually a weird one, because we were clinical to a certain extent, but we also weren't clinical last night, because that's how many chances we actually had. And when you're looking at the Villa game, we just weren't clinical at all. We were getting good deliveries into the box and having good chances, but we just weren't putting them away. And we should have won that game as easily as we did last night, to be honest, against Aston Villa. We didn't. Against West Ham, it was a completely different set of problems, where we couldn't get the chances and we couldn't get good deliveries in the box. But yesterday, I felt like we were at our complete best, and I think it's the best we've played all season. It was absolutely undeniable what a performance that was yesterday. Every player on that football pitch put in an absolute effort, and it felt like the players had a message to send out, and Ange Postecoglou as well had a message to send out to the Premier League after everything that we had been through over the last 4 or 5 games, 4 losses and a draw. Yeah, the draw came at the Etihad, but it felt like that was a message-sending performance.
Yeah, there was definitely new energy in that performance for sure. Spurs were super aggressive in this one, making lots of tackles. I think I was looking at the stats as well, most tackles we made in any game this season as well. So I think that stat shows the kind of, and the new energy. I think Ange was talking about it in his press conference after the game, that we were able to make a couple of changes, just bring that new energy to the team, and that made a big difference. Eddie Howe's team, all those 10 outfield players have played the last 5 games and started the last 5 games. They just seem to be running on empty, and I think that is definitely you can see they were very leggy in this game. Albeit, I did think they started quite well in the game. Bruno Guimaraes has that shot on the edge of the box, and then they got him behind. Gordon's on the left hand side, he puts a ball across the face of goal, and Isaac looks like he's about to tap it in, but a brilliant intervention from Davis, a little touch prevents it. And so at that point you're thinking, okay, Newcastle started this well, but I think once Spurs took control of the game, there was no looking back really, and we were absolutely phenomenal. And putting Son back on the left-hand side was definitely was an inspired choice from Ange Postecoglou, putting Richarlison back in the centre, and he looked as sharp as he's ever looked in a Tottenham shirt yesterday. Absolutely fantastic, and Son looked extremely sharp on the left-hand side. It's fair to say Trippier has had better games. He looks definitely out on his feet right now. I think off the back of what was a terrible game against Everton for him, he made a couple of mistakes leading to Everton's goals, and he pretty much carried on that form into this game. In the first half, he was given the runaround by Son in that first half, but whenever we got the ball out to Son, he was looking sharp, he was looking fast, he was looking to take Trippier on, and obviously he beat him a couple of times, pulled it back once for Udogie and the next one for Richarlison. I think that second goal was the crucial moment, because we had taken the lead in the past 5 games and yet failed to win. And after taking the lead in this one, everyone was obviously delighted, but there's still that bit of apprehension, okay, we've taken the lead for the 6th time in the row, but are we going to finally actually put this game to bed? And are we going to is this going to be a different game, or is it going to be the same as the other games where we let the opposition back into it? And I think once we got that second goal, it really just calmed. It really was a big sigh of relief with that moment.
It really was. Everyone was saying the same thing after the celebration died down for that first goal. We need that second. Yeah. We need that second. We need that second. Then at half time, I was chatting to a few people and they were just saying, we need that third. We need that third. Like, there was just so much anxiety within the fan base just because of what we have gone through over the last 4 or 5 games, you know. And we've played well in the majority of those games. We just haven't got over the line. And when you're looking at the start of that game, and especially the game against West Ham as well, when Brennan Johnson was on that left, you know, he was in that position so many times that Sonny was in yesterday, but he just couldn't find the right ball to make the killer movement. And I felt like it was a bit similar as well in the opening stages of the game against Newcastle, back on that right hand side. Brennan Johnson saw a lot of the ball on that right hand side, but he couldn't find that killer ball. There was one to Sarr where maybe Sarr should have done a bit better, but apart from that, I thought the delivery from Brennan Johnson in the early stages of the game was fairly poor. And then when Sonny when Sonny does what he does, and in that first moment, just completely attacking Trippier down that left, taking on that leadership role to example, showing the team how to do it, completely sold Trippier down the river, gets the ball in 1-0. A few minutes later, or 10 minutes later, he does a similar thing, completely does Trippier once again, and finds the right pass for Richarlison for the second goal. I felt like after that, in the second half, Brennan Johnson just seemed to come into his own a little bit more, and you really saw him start to take on his man, beat his man, and get good deliveries in the box. And once again, Heung-min Son showing that leadership quality and leading by example on that football pitch yesterday.
It's exactly what Ange pointed out as well. Like last game, he said he asked for more conviction, and he felt Son really encapsulated that yesterday. He was the one showing quality, and everyone kind of was inspired by that. And I thought Johnson was giving Livramento a torrid time down that right hand side. Every time he got the ball, especially after we went 1-0 up, he was just taking him on, getting on the outside. Livramento couldn't live with him. He was flicking it over his head, he was taking him on the outside. Obviously second half he went on the inside and nearly scored as well, but I thought he was whipping crosses across the face of goal for fun, and he was really giving Livramento a tough ride, and that's what Johnson can do on the right hand side. He just looks so much more comfortable when he's on that side, when he's on his stronger side. I feel like he's not that type of winger that I can see who when he's on that left hand side, you need a particular skill set. You need to be a bit flexible. I feel like he likes to run in straight lines. He reminds me just a bit of like Aaron Lennon a bit when he's on that side. Just looks like when he's on that right side, he's got so much pace to burn. When he's on the left hand side, his left foot isn't particularly strong. He doesn't have the best final ball anyway. When he cuts inside and when he's shooting across the face of goal, and he doesn't seem to have that technique to curl into the far corner and stuff like that you need when you're playing on the left. So I feel like on the right hand side, he's much better running in behind as well. He looks like a lot more at home, and I think that was definitely a consequence of that. And yeah, I think that front three looked a lot more electric with those three in those positions than we've seen. So I think Ange getting that dynamic from the start was a brilliant call from him, and I think it worked an absolute treat. And that first half was pure domination. Apart from the opening 5 minutes or so when Newcastle could have scored, it was literally just one-way traffic for that whole first half. The midfield, especially Basuma, with Sarr next to him, looking like his old self. Sarr adding that dynamic into the midfield, that energy he brings. Kulusevski playing in that number 10 role on the left-hand side. I thought he was a breath of fresh air yet again in that role. And Pedro Porro from right back, being in build-up, just being absolutely exceptional. He is, I think, not just our best player build-up. He might be one of the best players in the Premier League when he's progressing the ball from that position. He always seems to find a creative pass and a creative solution from that position. I've never seen, apart from maybe Trent, I don't know a right back, or Trippier potentially, but I don't know many right backs in the Premier League who are as good as him in those positions. He just always finds quality passes in that position and finds an opening, and it really just helps open up the space and open up the opposition. And I think it was another classic example of that yesterday.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And that ball for Richarlison was absolutely beautiful at the start of that second half. But I want to go back to Pape Matar Sarr, because I thought from start to finish when he was on the pitch, he was absolutely brilliant. Yes, he should have scored in the first 10 minutes of the game, but I just felt like he enabled Basuma, and I think Basuma just looks so much more comfortable on that pitch when he's got Sarr next to him. The energy that Sarr has, there was a moment in the corner by the south stand where he had about 2 men on him, and just he does this little trick and gets past 2 of them or 3 of them it might have been, and he's just so good. And how many turnovers in midfield did he do to help us set us on our way and on our attack? I mean, he does such an underrated job for the team, and we've missed him so much in these last few games, and I think yesterday was so much evidence of that.
Yeah, 100%, and it was really great to have him back, and he looked like his old self. He looked a lot sharper. He was giving that energy, and I think, as you say, it really helped enable not just Basuma and Kulusevski, that midfield as well, really helped facilitate them, and they looked more as confident as they've ever looked this season as well. And I think him himself, Sarr, he was put in one of those performances where he was just everywhere. He was getting up the pitch. He should have scored. He was defending. He was just kind of a jack of all trades yesterday. I thought it was a phenomenal performance from Pape Matar. I think you can literally point at every player on that pitch and say they had an exceptional game. I was on Twitter after the game, and I've never seen so many highlight comps with so many different players, but I think it just goes to show the level of performance yesterday was so high from everyone, and it was a delight to see. And yeah, going to our second half, we were 2-0 up, and as you said, we wanted that third goal. Newcastle did come out a bit stronger in that second half, but as soon as we got that third goal, we just took complete control of that game. And Richarlison got his brace, got his second with maybe it wasn't his best first touch, but a really nice finish for the second, for his third
some
goal.
Of the first touches he's shown in the Spurs shirt, probably one of his better ones.
Yeah, definitely one of his better ones. At least he kept possession, and obviously got the third. And then that last half an hour was just, it was like party time. Everyone was like bringing out the tricks. It was just like, let's see who can like create the best chance, and let's score some nice goals. We obviously didn't score until the penalty, but we were just creating chance after chance. Johnson hitting the post. Son had that volley across the face of goal. Skip had a one-on-one. Like Kulusevski went into his own, just creating chance after chance. It was like party time that last half an hour, and it was just a joy to watch. And what I loved about it as well is, at 3-0, maybe last season, or the season before, if we were in that position under Conte, like, we probably would have just sat back, played it around the back for half an hour, and it would have been boring to watch. But under this manager, we just keep going forward, we keep wanting to create chances, we keep wanting to attack, and it's just such a joy to watch. And some of the football again was mesmerising, and we were just creating chances at will, it seemed, at times. And the only disappointment was that it was only 4 at the end of the day, because the chances we created, it definitely should have been more than that. And I think Newcastle had no answer. They looked on their feet. They looked just so leggy after that third goal. And Spurs were just completely on top. And I know Newcastle, I know they're tired, and I know they got injury problems themselves, but it's no mean feat completely taking them to the sword like we did yesterday. And it was again such a good team. It was such a joy to watch yesterday. It was watching everyone play well in their element and just completely ripping them to shreds.
Yeah, look, we talk about injuries all the time, that Spurs are suffering massively with injuries, Newcastle are suffering massively with injuries. But don't forget, this Newcastle team have just beaten, Man United are probably not the team that they have been, but they've beaten Arsenal as well in the last month at St James's Park. Yes, they are maybe a different kettle of fish at St James's Park than they are away from home. But when you're looking at revenge from last year for the 6-1, that's the only regret for me, that we didn't go and score that 5, 6, 7, 8, because we had enough chances to do that. We literally could have scored 8 or 9 goals yesterday. That's how good and how creative and how many chances that we did have. We had like a 4 XG yesterday in the game.
Yeah,
3.99 or whatever it was. I mean, every single player had fire in their bellies yesterday. You could see they really wanted it, and the energy levels just didn't go down throughout the whole game. And obviously Son goes bursting through one-on-one with Dubravka. Dubravka takes him down, and finally we get our first penalty of the whole season. It's been coming for so long, that penalty, and we all had the conversations, coming into the season, coming into the game, who's going to be our penalty taker? But who else is it going to be? It's going to be Heung-min Son, without Maddison especially, and I thought he dispatched that penalty Harry Kane-esque.
Yeah, he said after the game, the interview asked him, was there a question who was going to take the penalty when you got it? And he said, like, should we put Harry back? But yeah, it was Harry Kane. It was a typical Harry Kane finish, bottom left, right into the corner, a lot of power. I was watching, and Bruno Guimaraes was behind Son. He was actually pointing to that corner. He's saying, he's going to go that way. He was pointing. Didn't matter though. Didn't matter that he knew, and obviously the keeper went the right way as well. Didn't matter. The penalty was that clinical. And I thought Son, he obviously was brilliant on the left, but when he went back in the centre, he was also very, he was causing him a lot of problems. There was that one moment as well, he jinked past Lascelles, goes on the outside and has a shot that was just a whisker past the post as well. Yeah. So going to show that off the left in the first half, he was brilliant. He goes back in the centre for the last 20 minutes or so, and was causing them as many problems as well. So I just think he's obviously just a fan. We know he's a world-class player, but there's obviously this conversation. should he be on the left, should he be in the centre? But he's showing yesterday he can do both just as well, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and I think now that goal brings him into like the top 15 or top, is it 15 or 25 top players of Premier League all time?
Oh, all time it's 23, I believe.
23. So I mean, unbelievable.
And he's now
overtaken a player that's been at left wing.
Yeah, and he's now Tottenham's all-time assister as well.
That's just crazy. Taking over from Christian Eriksen is just an unbelievable achievement for Heung-min Son. That's just who he is and what he is. I mean, he epitomises what Spurs are about at the moment, and he's leading this team better than I've ever seen anyone lead this team for a very long, or definitely in my lifetime. I've never seen anyone lead a team as a captain as well as he is doing right now. But like I said about before, and you said, how many standout performers they were yesterday. I saw someone put on social media yesterday, who was your man in the match yesterday? And usually you see like one resounding answer. I think I probably saw every name on the starting lineup in the answers yesterday, apart from maybe Vicario, because he had hardly anything to do pretty much for the whole game, and maybe Romero. I thought Ben Davies was absolutely brilliant yesterday, stepping in for Van de Ven once again. And since Van de Ven's got injured, he has been brilliant, hasn't he?
Yes.
Let's be honest.
I have to say, he's barely put a foot wrong. I think against against Villa, he had a few struggles. But you got to remember, in a lot of these games, he's been partnered with Emerson, and he's been like the senior centre back. And I have to say, he's been aggressive. He's been really defensively very, very strong. He had moments where he's getting in front of Haaland and bullying him and out muscling him. And I think on the ball, he's always been a pretty good passer as well. And I think he really helps us progress the ball forward. I think he's been a really able deputy for Van de Ven. Obviously, he doesn't give you everything that Van de Ven gives you in terms of the stature and that recovery pace, but in terms of filling in and doing a job, I think he's doing a really good job. And since he's been next to Romero as well, I think he's even taken his game up a bit as well. Because I think next to Emerson, it's been very difficult. But and also next to Dyer, I thought in that Wolves game he was near faultless as well. I think he's been really good, to be fair, and I doubted whether he could play in a back two, with his stature and his frame up against physical forwards. But I think he's done a fantastic job, and I think yesterday, if he doesn't make that challenge, we go 1-0 down. It's probably a different game as well. So I have to say he's done phenomenally well, and I think he deserves his props. Yeah,
definitely aggressive, progressive. Two players I thought last night had their best performances in the Spurs shirt. Brennan Johnson, who we've spoken about, and obviously Richarlison. After that surgery, he comes back. Ange mentioned it in the post-match. He's looking much more free. His movement is a lot more freer. And I think that's exactly what it was on the pitch yesterday. He was aggressive. He was putting himself about. His link-up play, I thought, was a lot better as well. Got 2 goals on the night. First one, it was probably harder to miss than score. But the second one, as you mentioned, a bit of a heavy touch, but he recovers from that touch and slots it past Dubravka.
Yeah, and I just thought in general, he just looks so much freer in his movement. But in the first part of the season, I'm not going to lie, it was very hard to watch him. He was, the ball was being fired into him. He couldn't control it. He couldn't play a simple pass. When he's trying to take someone on, he just seems weak, and it just seems very, very stodgy. And he seems to be basically losing the ball whenever he got it, essentially. But if the signs of yesterday is that if he's free of these injuries and we're finally going to see the real Richarlison, then maybe this is the start of him redeeming himself, because he just looked so much sharper. His movement looked so much more natural. He was beating players. He was, as you say, he was the little layoffs, which I've been praising Son for a lot of this season. He was able to pull off yesterday. He was getting in those positions. His finishing was pretty good for the 2 finishes as well. And he just seemed so much more comfortable on the pitch than he had been the whole season, or maybe in his entire time as a Spurs shirt. Also, his first 2 goals for Spurs with his feet as well.
Isn't that an insane stat? Isn't that an insane stat? You sign a guy for 60 million, a striker, a left winger, who's at the season before pretty much saved Everton single-handedly with goals with his feet and his head, to be fair. He comes in, he's been here a season and a half.
Yeah.
And this is the first 2 goals with his feet in a Spurs shirt. How nuts is that?
Bonkers, because you got to remember the 2 goals against Marseille, both headers.
Yeah.
The goal at Anfield was a header. Sheffield United was a header. Fulham was a header, and that's it, isn't it? That's all the goals he scored. So it's pretty mental. All of his goals have been from there, and that's why everyone says, "Oh, his biggest asset is his headings." That's all we've seen. But look, for Everton, did score a lot of goals with his feet, and for Watford as well. So let's hope. Look, he's got that monkey off his back now. He's finally put it in with his foot, playing football. So hopefully he can carry on and really maybe hit a rich vein of form. And I'm so happy for him that he looked like his old self yesterday. He looked like the player from Everton finally for the first time, really, ever since he's come here. So Sonny yesterday said he feels like he's better in the box than he is. So maybe we've finally got a striker who has a bit of presence again, and maybe that's what we're going to be, how we're going to be playing for the next few weeks or so. But I think it's what the most positive thing is. It just gives us options, you know. For maybe some games you want to have Sonny up front, maybe some games like yesterday you want to have Sonny on the left, and I just think the more unpredictable you make the team, the better. And I think having a fully fit Richarlison playing in his best position, playing like that, is only going to benefit the team.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Again, I wanna earmark Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie yesterday. I thought both of them were absolutely stellar. I mean, Udogie, since that kind of red card, hasn't been maybe the player he was before the red card, but I thought yesterday he was back at it, back to his best. Obviously getting that goal in the first half to set us on our way, and I think it was 25 minutes in or something like that.
And it's mad, he started the move for that goal as well.
He did start the move, yeah, you're completely right. And it wasn't just that goal, though, was it? I mean, the whole day he was a thorn in Newcastle's side. Runs down that centre of the park, just those straight runs, asking questions of Newcastle, taking men with him all the time. I thought Udogie was brilliant. And Pedro Porro, I mean, I can't keep going on about this guy. This guy has been, I'll say it again, once again, our best performer, our most consistent performer all season, maybe bar Heung-min Son, maybe even on a level with Heung-min Son. I mean, Pedro, his ball playing ability, his chance creation, his defending ability as well, it's just going up and up every single game. And he seems to be getting better week on week.
And what I loved about Porro's performance is, like, I think for a lot of the season, obviously we know he's got amazing quality on the ball, but I think a lot of the season he's kind of been tightening up defensively, and I feel like he's been concentrating on that, and I think he's been doing a great job, because I think defensively he's been pretty faultless for a lot of games this season. But I think maybe you could maybe say, not to say he hasn't been good offensively, but maybe he's lost a bit kind of on the ball, maybe not making enough like crosses and shots and all that kind of stuff. But I thought yesterday he had the best of both worlds. I thought he was spot on defensively, apart from that one moment Gordon got him behind early on. Gordon had a very quiet game, he completely pocketed him. And then on the ball, I think he made 4 key passes or 3 key passes, which was, you know, one of the most on the pitch. He had 4 shots on goal as well, forced Dubravka into a number of saves. Got an assist for Richarlison's third goal. Had a brilliant cross for for Romero heading off the line early on. He played a brilliant through ball for Sonny's penalty as well. He was just so creative, and had so much quality, and it was a delight to watch. When he's in that kind of form, he's so enjoyable to watch, and there aren't many right backs who are better than him when he's in that kind of form. And I think he might be. I think maybe Spurs fans realise how good he is, but in terms of like recognition from Premier League fans or from other people who are pundits and stuff, I think he might be one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, in my opinion, because he doesn't get anywhere near the props he deserves. People still probably, I feel like people still tarnish him with that debut against Leicester. I feel like that's stuck with a lot of people who don't watch him week in, week out about how good he is. Because I'm watching it and I'm like, this guy is one of the best right backs in the league, and I don't see a counter to that. And just to touch on Udogie, like, it's amazing how when you pass the ball into him and he has like players up his back and like trying to win the ball of him, it's like Dembele-esque how he keeps onto it and how strong he is. People can't get the ball off him. It's incredible to watch.
And he's still a kid.
And that first goal, you know, he gets the ball and there's a player on his left-hand side, and he just walks around him and passes out wide to Son and follows it into the box. But he does that so often. It's so and it just gives us another avenue to progress the ball, and he's so good in build up as well. I don't think he's as creative in his passing as Porro, but what he does do is he just outmuscles anyone who gets near him, and he just can just move them aside and progress the ball that way. And that's why he's like Dembele-esque when he's on the ball and keeping the ball, because he's just so strong you can't get the ball off him.
And it gives us so much solidity in the middle of the park, in the central midfield, because they're playing pretty much as central midfielders, Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, with their average positions where they are, and it just frees up our attacking players like Dejan Kulusevski. Reaped the benefits of that massively yesterday, right? But Destiny Udogie, he needed a performance like that, in my opinion, after what he did against West Ham with that lazy, silly back pass for the goal that they did score. But I had no doubts in my mind that Destiny was going to get back to his best, and he definitely did that yesterday. Decky, what a performance yesterday. That midfield was insane. That midfield was insane yesterday, from Bissouma to Sarr to Dejan Kulusevski. I mean, he is just so much better in the middle of the park. He just is, and he frustrates me a lot, especially did it against West Ham when he was on the right-hand side, cutting me in on his left. But when he's in the middle of the park, he's just unplayable. They just don't know how to deal with him. How many chances did he create yesterday alone? I mean, they just cannot get the ball off him. They cannot live with him. And he's just insane. He's just a different animal. He's a different beast when he's in that middle of the park. And I just don't want to see him out on that right-hand side anymore. I just want him to stay in that position. But when we do get our players all back after the AFCON and everything like that, and Maddison starts coming bac, and just got some serious selection headaches.
To be fair, he actually ended the game on the left-hand side, and he actually looked quite good in that as well.
Yeah.
He created a few chances from that left-hand side. So I think he can still do a good job out wide, but yeah, he was absolutely brilliant in the centre, and he's so hard to deal with. He's so strong, and he breaks into the space. He's so hard to catch as well. It seems as though midfielders don't know how to deal with him because of his time out wide. He knows how to take someone on. He knows how to exploit space, but he's so strong that if midfielders don't compete with him physically, he's just going to get to that space, and we know when he's given time and space, he can really create a chance. And he's got a good shot on him on his left or right foot, and it gives him so many more options when he's in the centre of who to pass to and where to go and where the space is. I thought it was another exceptional performance from Kulusevski, and I couldn't be happy with him.
Yeah, let's talk about the potential red card for Romero. I did think it was a red card. I know there's a lot of conversations talking about it at the moment. I mean, it was off the ground, it was studs up in the ankle, and the ball had gone like 10 years beforehand. So it was late, it was reckless, and it was dangerous. And there's just no need for that for Romero at that point in the game. The game's won. We just can't afford any suspensions for Romero at the moment, and I thought it was very silly to do that at that point in the game.
I agree with the second part. It was reckless and dangerous because of how Wilson's ankle was on the floor. I don't think it was high. I think he wasn't off the ground that much. I think it was late. I think if Wilson wasn't at that angle, I don't think the challenge looked anywhere near as bad as it did because of how Wilson was kind of standing. It was a late challenge. He did. I think it was a genuine attempt to get the ball, but he was just late to it. I think the challenge was made to look worse because of the angle of Wilson's ankle and how it contacted him. I don't think it was a high challenge, and I think he's lucky because it could have been very bad for Wilson. But I think on another day it doesn't get as much airtime, this challenge, just because I don't think it was as bad as people are making it. I think the still images definitely make it look worse. I've seen it again a few times. I think it's a stupid challenge. It's a bad challenge. I don't think it's one of these. Well, I'm saying people say it's a clear red card and all that. I don't think it is. I don't think it's clear and obvious. I think a yellow. It's probably a dark yellow, I would say. He's lucky boy because it's not a good challenge, but I don't think it's a clear red card.
It's one of those where if he's given a red, VAR ain't overturning that.
He can't have any complaints because it's just a stupid challenge.
Yeah. So, I mean, but why do that? I mean, I know Romero, we all know what Romero's like, yeah, but after what he's just been through, that red card against Chelsea, missing the 3 games and how pivotal it was to us, to go and do that when the game's already won, it's just silly. There's just no point to it.
And he was having a great game as well.
He was having a great game, and I think that was the only down mark in his game, to be honest. And if he does get sent off and gets 3-game ban...
Would have been 4-game ban.
Well, 4-game ban, you know what I mean? Like, how detrimental to us would that have been?
Yeah, after just how getting him back, it would have been horrendous. And he's been brilliant, I think, since he's come back. It's been really good to have him back. So we can't afford to lose him again. So let's just hope he doesn't have more of those moments anytime soon.
Yeah, and I just want to finish off before we end the match review of that shithousery from Vicario yesterday. I thought that was brilliant. I don't know what Wilson was saying to him, but Wilson seemed very upset about this shithousery. You know, he runs past Wilson with his tongue out and laughing in his face. I mean, do you like to see that? What would you make out of that?
I don't know what it was all about. Vicario claims that after the game he was saying that Wilson lacked respect for him. So I don't know what the whole story is behind it, but if Wilson did something, then I'm all for the Vicario shithousery. If it's unprompted and if it was just for no reason, then it's a bit weird. But I don't mind it. I don't mind if he's running up the opposition, especially if they're being disrespectful. A lot of people saying it's, you know, because of how Wilson spoke about Richarlison or something like that in his podcast, all that kind of stuff. If that's got anything to do with it, then I'm all for it.
Well, if that's the case, then God help Matty Cash when we go to Villa Park then,
right.
in a couple of months' time. But look, that is a match review, an absolutely astonishing performance from Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last night in a 4-1 victory, which got Spurs firmly back on track